Howdy, it's Jim Morado in Rockport, Indiana, and I believe we were here. I've had this video for a little bit now. This was, I believe, early December 2020, and met my buddy Brent here just to hang out for a little bit. Rockport's not that far from Owensboro, my old stomping grounds, and we came down and visited just some of this area and met up with my buddy Brent, who knew a little more about this neck of the woods than I did. He agreed to show us around real quick and just tell us a couple things, so that was pretty cool of him. And we just left Angelo's Pizza. We met for lunch at Angelo's Pizza, and I didn't even think to get a picture while we were there. But Angelo's Pizza is a very nice little place to grab a meal. They had really good breadsticks with cheese sauce, some good pizza. We really enjoyed it there. The prices were more than reasonable, and yeah, just a neat little place. It was very much. I love pizza, and I love just classic pizza made the way it's supposed to be, just hot and really good. And there's it had a unique taste, but it was still pizza that you wanted. We were really happy with the stop there, and I just wanted to mention them real quick. But yeah, we're just now we're just driving kind of down towards the river in Rockport. And this is a little town. Even when I was growing up in Owensboro, I remember being here a few times, but I can't even really remember why we came by here. But it's a neat little town, and it's actually very pretty, especially once you get down by the river and all. Just has a really nice vibe. Lots of old structures, and they've got quite a few Lincoln connections too, which I'm always up on my Lincoln connections. I appreciate that. Also, just looking at Wikipedia, which is a pretty decent source for information. Just wanted to mention the population's 2,270 as of 2010. It was the largest community in Spencer County, but Santa Claus passed it up not too long ago. And Rockport is the southernmost city in the state, located slightly south of Evansville, Cannleton, and Mount Vernon. Looks like it was first kind of on the map in 1818. The post office has been there since 1823. And looking at notable people, there's a couple of Union generals from the Civil War from the area, and also from the Brady Bunch, Florence Henderson. Florence Henderson grew up here. I know there's some Owensboro connections, because I remember my grandma crossed paths with her at some point, and my grandma passed away now well over a decade ago. But I just remember that I remember her saying that she knew her. And I wanted to take a quick note to mention we're about to come up on a historic marker. And, oh, sorry about that camera work there. That marker says, Site of Rockport Tavern. In 1844, Abraham Lincoln gave a speech at Spencer County Courthouse to promote Henry Clay, Whig presidential candidate. Lincoln, during his first trip to Indiana in 14 years, was a guest at the tavern. Site first marked October 28, 1926. It's kind of a big deal in my books. He gave a speech there, and he slept there. I just wanted to point that out to you. And we're heading down towards the Ohio River. This is, I think most people that visit Rockport, this is what sticks out in their head, is this little kind of cliffy Ohio River area that's just really pretty. I do remember coming from Owensboro late night, oh man, back in early 90s, maybe mid 90s, with some co-workers and checking this area out and just thinking it was really cool. And to the right, here in just a second or two, we'll be seeing just some cliffs. They have kind of a little gate up there. Yeah, you can kind of walk around up there. It's pretty thrilling, especially when you're young, and it offers a good view. And also up here, we're about to see a cave marker. There's some little steps where you can go up to it. I'm glad they've left that area open and not roped it off and inaccessible. I'm glad it's still accessible to everybody. But yeah, there's a little historic marker up here that I wanted to read to you. And you'll be seeing it to the right here in just a second. But it's Historical Site, Langford Cave. At the age of 24, James Langford, two different spellings possibly, and his family left their home in Stokes County, North Carolina, probably traveling through the Cumberland Gap across Daniel Boone's Wilderness Road, the most direct route from North Carolina to Indiana Territory. Tradition says when they came to the Ohio River, they made their way downriver by boat until they reached present-day Rockport, Indiana. Beginning in 1808, the Langford family lived in a small cave under the bluff overlooking the river. The front of the cave was protected by boughs and bark with animal skins stretched over the structure. Langford made an opening in the top for smoke to exit. He purchased land in Grass Township, Spencer County, and lived there until his death in 1849. He was a Methodist minister and helped establish the Tippecanoe Methodist Church of Grass Township, which is now known as Bloomfield Wesley Chapel. History books refer to him as a well-respected member of the community. So yeah, that's I thought that was pretty interesting. And there is also an embedded marker basically right beside that one that says, in this cave about the year 1808 lived James Langford, the first white man with a family to live upon the present site of Rockport. So yeah, and there's we'll see some other markers here in just a little bit, but yeah, I just think this is such a nice drive. And the town of Rockport, we saw some of them earlier. We'll see more again here in a little bit. There's just some great old houses all through here. This is just such a pretty area. And also from a Spencer County historic marker that we're going to see up ahead of us a little bit, I wanted to just mention a little bit about Abraham Lincoln in this area. And it says, under the famous Rockport Bluff lays the Ohio River. It was here in 1828 that a young merchant, Abraham Lincoln, boarded a flatboat for his first ever trip to transport produce to New Orleans. Travel to River Road at the east end of Main Street in Rockport, and you can stand on the same riverbank and sense the excitement of young Abe Lincoln anticipating his first trip so far away from home. And that's pretty cool. It does seem that there's a good amount of documentation that Abe Lincoln hung out quite a bit in this area, and I think that's really cool. Up here on the right, I think you can barely catch it. I got a picture. I think it's around. Let's see. Yeah, there is a high water mark. Yeah, and just up there, that high water mark reads January 29th, 1937, highest water in history, Rockport Kiwanis Club. And they've just, there's just a little stone up there with that marker. And then we're coming up ahead. We're still looking out over the banks and the Ohio. And we're about to come up. There's a couple of historic markers right up here. One's in stone, and one's kind of a basic marker with a lot of information about Lincoln. And I wanted to mention a little bit off of both of those. The one in stone, and this is one I remember from when I was younger. I remember reading this one. On that stone, it says, marking Old Lower Landing, where in 1828, age 19, Abraham Lincoln, with Allen Gentry, made his first flatboat trip to New Orleans. He saw slaves sold and said, if I ever get a chance to hit that thing, I'll hit it hard. In a very real sense of the word, it might be said that the Emancipation Proclamation, which Lincoln issued in 1863, owes its origin to this flatboat trip. This marker, erected by the Spencer County Historical Society and the Rockport City Park Board in 1939. And real quick before I forget to mention it, there's a Santa Claus. There he is. There's a Santa Claus statue, which I just thought was pretty darn cool. And we're about to pass an interesting monolith. Not sure what its purpose is or what it's there for. If you know, let me know. But it's just lots of cool little. There it is. I'm not sure what that's about. I don't think my buddy knew what that was about either. But it's there and it's cool and it's different. So lots to see in Rockport. And then I wanted to mention too, we're about to come up on a historic home. We'll pull up to it here in a second. But there is a marker out front, and let me read to you from that marker. Yeah, and here we go. We're coming right up onto that house. The Matthias Sharp House, circa 1867. This house was built by Matthias and Catherine Sharp on property once owned by Judge John Pitcher, Spencer County's first lawyer and Abraham Lincoln's close friend. It was the first house in Rockport to be designed by an architect and the first bluff house to be built with the front facing the river. Matthias died here from poisoning, as did Catherine's second husband. Catherine was later prosecuted for the poisonings. Some believe the ghost of the two men still inhabit the house. In 1877, the noted ichthyologist, Dr. Carl H. Eigenmann, came here to reside with his uncle, the prominent Rockport businessman, Captain John Eigenmann. National Register of Historic Places, 1983. And some other cute little houses through here. This was a really small house, but we all thought it was very attractive, and we all talked about it after we drove by. And then we're coming up on a house you'll see here in just a moment. And again, you've got these nice pretty houses, but then it's still country. This is just a nice little town with a lot going for it. We liked this house too, and it almost looked like maybe their Halloween decorations evolved into their Christmas decorations. I think that's maybe some sort of a Krampus on the front there, and it was moving. Yeah, look at that thing. It's got some motion. Kind of spooky, kind of Christmassy too. So yeah, we drove by that. And then we drove up by, here in just a moment, we'll be driving by the Rockport Inn, which was built in 1850. I think it's kind of a bed and breakfast now, or it has served as a bed and breakfast. But it was built in the 1850s, and it recently burned. I think they pretty much thought it was a done deal, but they have been working on restoring it. And yeah, I saw that it's looking pretty good. And we go past it here in a little bit, and it is one of those places where all sorts of paranormal activity has been reported. So yeah, I know there's people interested in it because of that too. So that's kind of cool. But we're heading that way right now, and just kind of driving around Rockport. And I wanted to very quickly mention one book that has a little bit about Rockport in it. If you're any sort of a fan of Lincoln, you should pick up Ralph Gary's A Complete Annotated Reference to Hundreds of Historical Sites Visited by Abraham Lincoln, and it's titled Following in Lincoln's Footsteps. And it's separated by state, and it tells, once you get into the state, you can look up little cities and just see if Abraham Lincoln ever visited or if he had any connections to that particular city. So I think that's pretty interesting, and I just wanted to mention that there is a small section on Rockport there, which I think is just great. And I just realized that we did not turn the camera towards the Rockport Inn B&B as we drove by it. So we did take a couple pictures though. So there's what it looks like, and it's looking pretty nice. Looks like they're trying to get that thing back in shape. So that'll be something to check out once it's back open. Have you been there? Have you stayed there or stopped by their restaurant? If you have, let me know. Anyway, so yeah, that's just a real quick video I wanted to put up about Rockport, Indiana. Check it out.